Actually, friends, we have just, this is SACAR's 25th year, actually. So we were doing quite a lot of things, but this time we had a seminar of 4 days only on Savitri. So it was like a yajna. We called about 40 students who have done their PhD and who are doing their studies in Aurobindo. And we had about 14 speakers, and we also made them read certain papers, whatever research they were doing. So it was, and they stayed with us. It was boarding and lodging kind of thing. So it was a wonderful experience, actually. And I had, unfortunately, a long viral just before that. So I had a lot of problem with coughing and all that, but I prayed to the mother that these 4 days at least spare me. So I am definitely better. At one point, I was thinking I may have to tell Shivaji that next week or something, but that I said, it's better that I go. Mother always says that don't be pessimistic, always think that you'll be able to do. So I thought I might as well be with you, have the opportunity to be with you, sharing a little. Why I told him about human relationships in sadhana is because, you see, all of you, myself, at least the speakers over here, those who are studying, okay, they are still in life, they are studying, they may be intellectually interacting with Sri Aurobindo. But those who are in sadhana, and since I live in the ashram, this problem of disharmonies are always there despite all our efforts not to have them. Because we all know one thing, that disharmonies erupt from the lower vital. And everybody in sadhana should be or are trying definitely to be more conscious. To be conscious of everything, isn't it? I mean, our thoughts, our emotions, the way we work, the way we react, everything. But still things happen. Of course, you know, I also know, but it's good to sometimes deliberate so that like things are reminded to us, so to say, These issues of relationships, they cause, because of clashes or disharmonies, they cause more misunderstandings and greater disharmony than good and memorable, good moments that we have spent together. Hurting of whatever feelings or falling out of relationships. Even in the ashram, a lot of such things happen. I remember once, this is what is being conscious. I remember once Shadavan and I, we used to teach. Mother had chosen her also, and we were also chosen. So one morning, early morning, she comes to me and she says, Deepshikha, I've come to say sorry to you. I said, sorry, but for what? She said, I thought ill of you. I thought something wrong about you. I thought ill of you. And that's something I should not have done. You do not know about it, but I realize my mistake. I have come to say sorry. You see, even without my knowing it, she needn't have come, because I could never have known, because something that had happened in her mind, within her heart, or within her thoughts, whatever. Because we were working together. Maybe some of my ways of working with children, she didn't like, she didn't approve, whatever, I don't know. Till today, I don't know. She is no more also. So this is what is being conscious of analyzing our movements, isn't it? When when we get relaxed, then things happen and continue. I'm just going to discuss something that in a way we all know. It is more making things a little more clear. And many times people say that Deepshikha Didi, it helps us. Because after all, I'm going to talk only about Maya and Aurobindo and nothing else. Disharmonies in relationships mean, what I mean is quarrels or clashes or disagreement with others, verbally or silent. I know many of us, it depends upon our nature, whether extrovert or introvert or a silent kind of a personality or vociferous. There are people who feel things within and they get very deeply disturbed, but they are not able to speak out, or they don't speak out, or their nature is such that they don't speak out. And they suffer. Nonetheless, they suffer. So it does not matter whether it is verbal or it is silent. Both are equally potent to spoil the surrounding atmosphere and peace. This can arise, as we all know, from anything. It can happen from an argument where you differ from others' opinion, as the other person asserts himself, or where there is attention deficit. This happens because I have been in education, or recognition deficit, that you feel you ought to deserve more and you are not getting enough satisfaction because of your expectation or whatever it is. And a very unfortunate something just happened last week only. She's supposed to be and she's okay, sincere on her own, but her expectation is so high that she comes and tells me, Deepshikha Didi, these people, they don't understand this, that and all. But I know her standard because I'm much older, I've read much more. Now how to tell her? Because that's the problem, where she has to understand that she has to learn more, and we should not expect. Because if we are in sadhana, which she says that she is very much in sadhana, then in that case we do everything for the mother. We are not doing anything to get anybody else's recognition. As a matter of fact, that's the truth. I should be happy if I have been able to do a good job of offering what I want to do. So this happens. It's not that those who are not educated, they do these mistakes. No, nothing of that sort. It's a question of one's nature. There are people who feel inferior. They always compare. And somehow or the other, comparison is not good. Judging others is not good. We all know all these things. So a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of disharmonies. And when you, which I feel is more, should not use the word dangerous, but it's not beneficial at all, is that when you have something, when we all have something in our heart, which we just, keep suppressing. Okay, quiet person, nice, smiling and all that. But then, because of the suppression, when they express, or for whoever they have whatever, their anger or, their feelings, which are, they feel that they are unjust, or the way it comes out, vibration-wise, it is very harmful, very bad. It not only disturbs the person who is indulging in it, but the whole atmosphere. So it is much better to speak out things. But one must know how to speak out things politely, nicely, in a civil manner, no doubt about it. But to keep it in the heart suppressed is something I have seen, always have seen, that it does not give good results. So these are the kind of disharmonies I'm talking about. There are many people, they feel neglected. They are not neglected, but they feel neglected because their expectations are such. They feel lonely. And most of the time, what mother also says, and what you have seen, I have seen, we have all seen, is that we blame others for our problem and we also blame the circumstances. Instead of trying to find why something, okay, very contrary, it should not have happened. I never expected that this will come to me. But if it has come, then there must be a reason. That's what mother says. But very often, we do not want to get into all of that. You see, the problem is that all these feelings and emotions, reactions that I'm talking about, suppression or expression, whatever, they are all from inside. And our relationship is outside of us, isn't it? So actually, as we all know, that the life of sadhana is within, and these relationships are outside of us. Right? Now, ordinary people who do not think of anything very deep or anything very high, or do not think of any kind of transformation, or do not look into themselves that, well, I have these weaknesses or I have these virtues. In these areas, I'm very good, but in these areas, I'm not good. So I think I should work out things to be more happy. They don't think. They are having a happy-go-lucky life. They're earning, they're having friends, they're having parties, and they're good people, very good people. They're going to temples, they're having a devata, kula devata in their, this thing, everything. But they are not into the life of sadhana, because the moment it comes to sadhana, then it is a spiritual element that gets added to it. Ordinary life, you can call it religious, no problem. But sadhana is something in which we have to bring within ourselves the ability to look within ourselves. Because sadhana needs, basically, as we all know, other than the fact of aspiration, rejection, and surrender, of course, aspiration. Aspiration, we know, aspiration from within. And aspiration for the divine, aspiration to change oneself, aspiration to go from one stage to another. So all those things are, of course, there, because in sadhana, when it comes to sadhana, then in one word, if I can say, we are walking the path of the union with the divine. And that union as such, I'm not talking about a perfect union which comes very late, but walking the path. Walking the path itself needs all these qualifications. And one of the very important thing is purification. Purification, which in old yogas we call it purification, but otherwise Aurobindo calls it rejection. Rejection of all the wrong elements in us, all the lower elements in us. Now, if I say that the first thing we'll talk about it later, which the mother says that to know yourself from within, you have to learn first to quieten yourself. How to make your being silent. And silent not from outside, that I'm not talking, I'm doing some Mauna Vrata, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. It's not that. This silence is from within. This quietness is from within. Completely. It's a completely different thing, as we all understand, isn't it? And there are many things she says about it. It's very good to know. Maybe some other time we will discuss. Today we are discussing about the human relationship. Why she says is that unless and until we are silent, because it's like the ripple in water. When there are little waves and ripples, then we cannot look inside. It's just like that. If the mind is restless, if it is not quiet, if it has not been trained to be quiet, there's a training process. Like for meditation is a training process. Concentration is a training process. Things do not come just by reading, or these have nothing to do with any of the outer things. These are things that we have to do from within. So unless and until we are able to do that, we are not able to look within ourselves. And insofar as the problem in human relationships go, I'm sure you all know, the central problem is why all these things happen is because of our ego. Because the outside life is governed by ego. As Aurobindo has said, we have got two rulers. One is ego and the other is the divine. The other is the psychic being, the other is the soul. So those of us who are being guided by ego and who are not much thinking about the soul or the psychic being or the Ishta Devata or the divinity with whom we have to make an intimate relationship, which is the core understanding of sadhana. Those who are being guided by ego is guiding them to the mind. But then unfortunately, what is happening is that we understand the character of ego only when we get into sadhana. Otherwise, those who are not worried about it, they're happy. They think the way ego makes them think, the way ego guides their life. If they have been insulted by somebody, they handle it themselves. If they are quiet for now, it's okay. There are many times they say, let the time come, I'm also going to show him. He will also understand. So mind is very happy guiding them in this way, because ego basically is, as Aurobindo says, is a very, very narrow personality. Extremely narrow personality. And you know the origin of ego. Origin of ego is that ego and ignorance. When the creation was done, at that time, very unfortunately, as you know the story of the mother, that consciousness, life, truth, all these four elements, they went a little too far when they were given to create the universe. Aditi gave these four emanations to create the universe, but Aditi forgot that they should be perhaps given a limited freedom. So Aditi gave them absolute independence, and they went so far that they turned opposite of themselves. So truth became untruth, life became death, and consciousness, whatever, unconsciousness, ignorance, and from that came ego. It's just this separation from the divinity. Why Sri Aurobindo says They're the two things that are governing us. One is the divine, the true divine, and one is the false divine. So ego considers itself, that I am the guide, I am the director. And ego has its kingdom, and it has its ministers and cabinet, desire, possessiveness, all the lower qualities, ignorance, everything. It's a full-fledged kingdom, as a matter of fact. But then, essentially, this Mr. Ego is a very narrow personality. It loves to imprison us in its confines. That starts when we get into sadhana, suffocating us. So long as we are in the kingdom of ego, and it never allows us to go towards anything higher or deeper. Never. Ritam, Satyam, Vrihat is too far away from ego. Absolutely. And it tries its best if we are getting transformed. That's how the problems come. Because they try their best to see that I'm not able to get into this purer path, and I come back. So it pulls us back. That's why in the synthesis, Aurobindo says that we make 2 steps progress, but then when we fall with that. Again, we have to start. That's why he says, in the beginning, when we are not yet, fixed, we have not yet been able to train ourselves into this path that we are walking on towards the divine. We must make our company small. Suppose I had 50 people that I knew, that I interacted with, that I participated in, several congregations, several collective functions and all. He says, when in sadhana, in the beginning, you must make your circle smaller. Kabir Das, he says, in a Doha, he says, what is the meaning of satsang? The meaning of satsang is that you are only with those who are sat, who are into truth, right? And then he gives a beautiful example that when a beautiful tree like the banana tree is near we call it bear in Hindi, they call it bear. Bear are small little round fruits, but that tree has got lots of thorns. Bear khate hain, actually, it's meant for eating. Or sometimes people make pachadi also out of it. So bear or babul. Babul also has lots and lots of thorns. If a banana tree or if a cluster of banana trees are standing very close to them, all their beautiful leaves are completely scarred by those. So he says that your company is very important. Satsang means you be with those chosen people who can influence you, who can guide you, who can, by their atmosphere itself, by their vibrations itself, lead you towards forward in your own path. That's why Sri Aurobindo says in the synthesis that your circle must be. And when we are so well established within ourselves, and as the mother says, to make ourselves quiet itself, friends, it takes years together. It's not an easy business, no doubt. We have to be so conscious of actually each thought and emotion, whatever is coming into us. We have to, mother says, that life will have never any boredom if you know how to look within. And we'll always find time is less. Time is going too fast. So much I have to do. Oh, I'd love to. Come on. That kind of a thing, So, in these human relationships, what is most important is that we have to be conscious and recognize. You see, we have disharmonies we are talking about. I have been a teacher all my life. Students used to come, 11th, 12th, even college students, and they used to tell me about the problem with their parents because it is a gap of a generation. And they used to tell me, why we can tell you everything, because I used to take value education classes, 12 years I took. So most of the schools here, they know me, and I used to tell them, you can come to me anytime. So sometimes they used to come. And they used to say they don't understand us and this and that. I used to clearly know what the problem is because of love and attachment for the children. But you see, parents have to also be psychologists, as the mother said. The teacher has to be a psychologist, mother used to say. Parents also have to be psychologists, isn't it? And when I was principal of headmistress of schools, those days are gone. Now, the world has changed after the technology advancement. Children have the whole world in their mobile. They have everything. They're exposed to so many things. Their struggle is far more than us, as a matter of. Here, the kind of things that we have to teach them. Mother has discussed even at that time. She had none of these things were there at that time. But still, she has so many things, such beautiful things. She has said, what are the things to be refined? How their mind has to be prepared so that they understand the difference between beauty and vulgarity. So many beautiful things, you know. She herself used to say, a time is going to come, you cannot tell the children, do this and don't do this. It's not possible. They'll not listen to you. The world is changing. You have to prepare them in the right values. And the highest value is, of course, the one going to the psychic. And that too, how to do it beautifully. Anyway, we are not talking about education. I'll read a thing from the mother. She's saying difficulties always arise from the ego. Now, these here difficulties, I mean, in terms of differences in human relationships or disharmonies. That is from your more or less egoistic personal reaction to circumstances, events, and people around you. You see, people around you. There comes the relationship. To the conditions of your life. They also come from that feeling of being closed up in a sort of shell, which prevents your consciousness from uniting with higher and vaster realities. It's the ego which doesn't let us do this. Connect ourselves with uniting with higher and vaster realities. That is why it is extremely important to understand the working of the ego. Now, even if we have decided and we think we are bhaktas, I'm not only talking this in terms of Mother and Aurobindo, same thing is in the Gita also. Absolute. Gita is a wonderful scripture. Everything is there, except what Aurobindo talks, the later part, which was not Sri Krishna's duty to speak about, which is towards the supermind, psychicization, whatever, later supermind mentalization. But otherwise, Gita is wonderful. Absolutely. So in other words, ego loves to keep us always under its very limited, airless, sunless, dark room and justifies all its movements through the sanction of our mind. Ego is always convincing our mind that this is the truth, you know, because it dominates the mind's thoughts. This thought purification. In rejection, we have one of the main things is thought purification. Because we are factory of thoughts. We can't do without thoughts. We are always thinking. So mind's thoughts in a way that it cannot reach the wide and vast, kingdom of God, where it can fly with its wings wide open in the space. Since it suffocates us, we feel the pain and suffering. All the pain and suffering that we get in our life, of course, Mother says, pain and suffering comes to us, to each one of us, in small degree or higher degree, only to make us learn that something is abstract, something is narrow, something is not open to this wide sunlight, skylight. Something has to be done, something has to be opened, something has to be purified, something has to be corrected. That's the only reason. Everything and anything. Some things we cannot understand. Like I had cancer. She says that the body, our body is still, of course, there are many things we do not understand. No doubt about it. But then she says that there is a body's immobility, body's rigidity, body's tamasic pravritti that is also very, very much there. There is no doubt about it. We may not be able to exactly understand certain things, but most of the things, she says, it comes, and if you concentrate, then you understand why it has come, and you always learn, because everything comes for us to learn, each and everything, Ego brainwashes us to any sort of higher or freer thinking. There is something high or noble or generous about it. There is nothing high or noble or generous about it, because it is always very, very self-oriented. Ego makes us self-oriented. That is why Sri Aurobindo says it's a very narrow personality. Right? So this is one of the main things. This is somewhat the introduction, that we have to understand the play of ego, which is very important. The second thing in human relationship, and the moment we understand, and this I'm talking entirely out of experience. You see, when we are young, we get angry, we react, we have fights, we have arguments, and this, that, and all. But while walking on the path, slowly, when we learn how to quieten ourselves, how to be able to look within ourselves, about which I should say 2 sentences certainly, which comes in self-training, because without self-training, we cannot do any sadhana, no doubt about it. For that, we have to definitely have a willingness to train ourselves each time a wrong thought or an attitude or a wrong feeling enters our being, which means that as we have seen ourselves, and Shivji will know that, because he is a senior person. I don't know how many of you are senior, but as we age, then we understand that our anger and our reactions, everything has become subdued. And because once we learn how to quieten ourselves, as the mother says, as Sri Aurobindo says, that's one of the first things of yoga, is to be, it is said that we have to be able to look within ourselves. Now, how we can look within ourselves? They say that it is like when I'm seeing from here, out of my window, I can see those trees, I can see the crows sitting over there. Very clear vision is there. So that's why they say that you have to learn to detach yourself. By detaching, one of the very simple things that is said, because after all, detachment, the best text on detachment is Srimad Bhagavad Gita, what Sri Krishna, the way he has explained, and Sri Aurobindo's also. I won't be exactly able to tell you the volume, but I have read Sri Aurobindo's essays on detachment. Out of the world, absolutely. And he also mentions Sri Krishna. So detachment. Okay, now these things are very difficult, but one thing that is easy to do is that Mother says we have to imagine that we are looking at ourselves from outside of us. So when I was young, I remember, I used to also think like this, that I am sitting right at a corner outside and I'm looking into myself. And then what happens is that slowly, you see, everything is time taking and nothing is very easy. But I'm talking about something experiential because I'm in this line of living in the ashram since her times. Vision gets clear. When you get angry, she says one word, step back. Whenever you see that something uneasy, disharmonious is coming or happening within you or outside you, immediately try to step back. She used to say that because she says, because as we know, we have got several levels within us. Outside are only three: body, mind, and thoughts. And then mind, thoughts, and feelings and emotions are also inside. Some are in the heart and some are in the mind. That's also inside. It's only the body that we can see. But these three functions are the outer functions. And then we have the inner function. That's why it is always said that the inner world is far larger, far bigger, far wider than the outer world. If one knows, if one learns how to go inside. So all these can be done by two instruments. One is imagination and one is visualization. In Life Divine, he talks about two instruments. Imagination, we imagine, right? Visualization, I'm seeing, I'm seeing. You see that? So then, I'd go outside of myself and then any feelings and thoughts that's coming. Now, if everything is okay, everything is okay. No problem. But the moment things are not all right, when you are visualizing yourself, then you will see slowly that a movement is happening within us. You see? Now, I'm watching myself. Now, I know what are the higher vital qualities, what are the lower vital qualities. What are the higher mental gunas and what are the lower mental gunas, right? To take revenge, to do this, to think ill of others. These are the lower things. Since I am into sadhana, I know what is right, what's wrong. But remember, I am being guided by the ego. Now I am changing my sphere. Right? So then when I am sitting outside me and watching and consciously looking into what's happening within me, the whole sadhana is within, then after stepping back, as the mother says, that inner mind, inner vital, inner physical, all the three areas within us are much calmer, much, much calmer. That's why she always says that you step inside. The moment we are able to step inside, we are in a different atmosphere. And remember, I have made the habit of watching myself from outside. That means that's called a detached sight. Anasakta drishti, it is called. You see? So it becomes, friends, it becomes a part of your everyday living. It takes time. It takes time. It takes a long time. Sadhana is not easy. One has to be conscious. One has to give oneself a lot of time. We keep falling. We keep getting back uh, uh, in the kingdom of ego. Ego is very strong. It's very difficult to, you know, get out of its clutches. But still, at least inch by inch, little by little, even after falling 1,000 times, mother says you have to get up and dust yourself and stand up and then get going on the path. So that's what it is. So then what happens? One understands, no, that's wrong. This kind of thinking is wrong. These ideas are coming from somewhere else. I must see to it that they are wiped out. It's wrong. I'll work. Then I either sit for meditation or I ask the mother. Everybody has their own ways of contact with her, right? But one has to be able to observe oneself. This is what is called objective observation. Otherwise, subjective. We cannot see things within us because we are the subject. It's very difficult. So that's why mother used to say, Aurobindo also says, this happens when we are battered by disharmonious forces and want to have a permanent solution. So she says that you can be happy in life, that happy is not temporary happiness or material happiness. True happiness is something, a gain from within, right? So I don't have much time. I have got another 10 minutes. I'll speak certainly because it's a beautiful subject for people like us, those who want to get into the right line of living, is that our willing cooperation to know ourselves and get out of this web of continuous domination by these lower movements, it needs a continuous support of the inner being and the grace from above. And that can come when mother says, when you are willing, you have to want it. She always used to tell us, you have to want it. Then only things will come. Otherwise, they will not come. She used to say, peace is around you, my child. So many times she used to say. And she used to be very angry. She used to say, you keep spending your time chatting. In French, she used to say, please be quiet. Try to look inside. I still remember, I don't know if I told you this. When we were young, we used to go every day to eat in the dining hall. So there was an elderly, so we were with 3 or 4 of us, we were talking and laughing while eating. And an elderly gentleman, he comes to us and he gives us a good big scolding. I've come here for this. Absolutely ignorant, absolutely unconscious. We all were quiet and he went away. He was an elderly. These people were real sadhaks, and we people were very young then. First of all, we all almost burst into laughter, but we didn't do. Then we changed, we took our thalis and went somewhere, didn't learn anything at all. It was much later. This was in our 20s. It was much later. And we had such great people around us. Yogis they were. Now the ashram, when I think of those days, I just feel we have become so much poorer. But this is the cycle of evolution. It goes on. So they were there, and I still remember Puducherry used to say, Deepshikha, The time has now come for the psychic realization. Don't waste your time. So many things, they're so beautifully and so lovingly, actually. Of course, this gentleman was a very... So that time we didn't know that sadhana means, and I didn't read all these books, it was later, that as the mother says, we have to make our whole being quiet, and we have to develop this ability to look within ourselves from outside. That is a detached vision. It takes time. It takes a long time. And then automatically we become more serious, relative. We become more quiet. We become more conscious. And we start living within, which Aurobindo used to say, always used to say, live within, live within. And mother said, 50% live within and work from there outside. That will be the true work. Then you are not being guided by your ego. You are being guided by your psychic being. Then what happens when we become more and more conscious in sadhana? Then anything that happens with us, we don't react, first of all, immediately, because the only way we do not react is by stepping back, by going within. And once we go within, it's like you have got the key. For me, it is a key, because that's a different world altogether. I mean, like you are getting into contact with our innermost being somewhere. I mean, of course, I'm not saying about psychic. Psychic is the seventh door. I'm not talking about exactly that, but the whole atmosphere of the inner world is very different. So that immediately has an effect on us, and it silences the mind. It quietens the mind. It quietens the emotions, and all the negativity side which the ego wants to impose on us, they cannot come in. It is so powerful because it's being guided by the innermost being. It is so powerful that we get the right movement. And even if there is an argument, instantly there is established a fraction of a truth that also influences the others. This is my absolute experience. Mother says, if you want to widen your mind, learn first to be quiet. Let's forget about it, because that's the first. To quieten oneself is the very first exercise. She says that, especially when you are in meetings, you will find people talking entirely contrary of how you feel, how you think, how you plan, how you decide things. But if you want to learn to widen your mind, she says, get into his mind. It is only then that you will be able to understand, because that man also may be equally sincere, but it is very different from that of yours. That's because his upbringing, his background, thoughts, everything is very different. But don't think that he is not sincere. There can be difference of opinions, and you have to learn to respect it. It's only when you can widen your mind, spectrum of your mind, it's only then that you will be able to embrace it. So many things, really, you all know, you are into this path. I don't have to say, but so beautiful, what should I say? I've written my notes. And Sri Aurobindo says something so beautiful about this human relationship. I very often remember that because I have to. We have to run an institution here, and I still am called uh, by schools and all to give, because I've been in education all my life, or counsel some teachers or something like that, And this thing of Sri Aurobindo has really helped me in my life. Is that he says that, look, in terms of virtues and weaknesses, we are all the same. The virtues that you have are different from those of mine. My problems and weaknesses are mine. Yours are yours. But then we all have. Each one of us is different because we have all been composed with the same three gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas, but in different proportions. Some people have more vitality. Some people are more knowledge oriented. Some people are sports loving. They have a wonderful body. Some people are also tamasic. Some people are adventurous. So all kinds of natures, right? So he says, so we all are same. But in collective yoga, and ours is collective yoga, not an individual yoga. But we have to do individual yoga, individual perfection, otherwise collectivity will not be enriched, isn't it? So, such a beautiful thing he said. He said, look, always look at the virtues of others, never at their weaknesses, because you are not able to look at your own weakness. You also have the same weakness or even more. But you are not. And mother says very, because Sri Aurobindo says things in a very, how to say, decent way. But mother didn't care. Mother was absolutely like a mother. She straight said that if you find faults in others, that is only because those faults are very much lying very happily within you. This is one thing I didn't understand for 20 long years. When I was younger, I used to say, no, mother, not at all. I don't like that man because he beats his wife. I don't like him. Does that mean that I beat somebody? I don't beat. Oh, it's a very subtle thing. The element of violence is there in me. That's why I'm recognizing the violence. It took me so long to understand. Of course, I was young. I was young, foolish, ignorant, as we all are. It took me a long time because you see, the ultimate thing about human relationship that mother said, that why our yoga is a collective yoga, is basically primarily because it's only through collectivity that you can see yourself. There's a point here I had written, if I can find it out, is that she says that in a collectivity, others are your mirror. She uses the word mirror. You can look at yourself through them because they are your mirror. This is one thing it took me a long time to understand. And it is difficult to understand. It's not easy to understand. It needs a lot of surrender to understand. And when you are young, your mind is very strong. It doesn't surrender so easily. It convinces itself, no, this is what is ego actually. It takes time, friends. But walking this path is a very joyous thing because the only thing that if we say in a way It is so much work we have to do. What do we get out of it? All I can say is that, as Mirabai had said, that Lord Krishna, everything from the morning time, doing the flowers for you, to everything, whole day, the seva that I do is only because the joy of union with you that I feel. All I can say is that walking this path, whether for the sake of learning to have the right kind of relationship with others, or to know more and more how to surrender, how to purify oneself, how to only aspire for what is truth, what is light, what is love, what is divinity. All that we get out of it is the joy. Absolute joy. Remembering the mother itself, to be able to do it all the time, which is our only goal in life, is nothing but Ananda and joy. Namaskar.
For the benefit of listeners, I'll summarize. See, one should not suppress one's feelings. பொதுவாக நம்மளுடைய ஃபீலிங்ஸை நம்ம சப்ரெஸ் பண்ணக்கூடாது. அப்புறம் முக்கியமாக என்ன பண்ணணும், நம்மக்கிட்ட இருக்கக்கூடிய உள்ளுக்குள்ள இருக்கக்கூடிய மூமெண்ட்ஸ், இயக்கங்கள்லாம் இந்த லோவர் லெவலில் இருக்கக்கூடிய மூமெண்ட்ஸை நம்ம தொடர்ச்சியாக நம்மளிருந்து விலக்கி கொண்டே வரணும், வெளியேற்றி கொண்டே வரணும். அதுக்கு என்ன அவசியம் அப்படின்னா, we have to look within. நமக்குள்ளக்குள்ள பார்க்க கத்துக்கணும். எப்பொழுதும் நம்ம உள்நோக்கி பார்க்க கத்துக்கிட்டோம் அப்படின்னா, நமக்குள்ள என்ன நடக்குது அப்படிங்கிற எந்த ஒரு மூவ்மெண்ட், அது ஒரு தேவைப்படாத இயக்கமா இருக்கலாம், மற்றவங்க மேல வெறுப்பா இருக்கலாம், கோபமா இருக்கலாம், பொறாமையா இருக்கலாம், மிஸ்அண்டர்ஸ்டிங்கா இருக்கலாம். இதெல்லாம் நம்மளால அதை பார்த்து அதை விளக்க முடியும், ரிஜெக்ட் பண்ண முடியும். அதுக்கு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டு லுக் வித்தின். இரண்டாவது, நம்ம இந்த யோக சாதனையில the more and more we enter into சாதனா, நமக்குள்ள இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நான் என்கின்றது ஈகோ, அது நமக்கு தெரிய ஆரம்பிக்கும். அது வரைக்கும் நம்ம we will behave like normal beings without being aware of the functioning of our ego. But மொமெண்ட் நம்ம இந்த சாதனால இறங்கின பிறகு, மதர்கிட்ட வந்தப்புறம் நிறைய மதர் வில் மேக் யூ அவேர் ஆஃப் யுவர் ஓன் ஈகோ. நமக்கிட்ட இருக்கிற ஈகோ மேல மேல நமக்கு அப்படியே காட்டிட்டே இருப்பாங்க. எதுக்கு காட்டுறாங்க அப்படின்னா, ஜஸ்ட் டு கம் அவுட் ஆஃப் இட், அதுல இருந்து வெளியே வரதுக்கு தான் அவங்க காட்டுறாங்க. அதனால ரெண்டு விஷயம் நம்மளை கைட் பண்ணுது. ஒன்னு ஹையர் பவர், ஹையர் கான்சியஸ்னஸ், தட்ஸ் a டிவைன் கான்சியஸ்னஸ் ஒரு பக்கம் கைட் பண்ணுது. இன்னொரு பக்கம் நம்மளுடைய ஈகோ, அது வேற இன்னொரு டைரக்ஷன்ல நம்மளை பிடிச்சி இழுக்குது. ஈகோ என்ன பண்ணுது, அதோடைய பிடியில நம்மளை வச்சுக்குது. நம்மள ஒரு ஈகோ இம்ப்ரிசன்சஸ் வித்தின் இட்ஸ் பவுண்ட்ஸ். அதோடைய ஒரு சிறை மாதிரி வச்சு அதுக்குள்ள நம்மளை கட்டி போட்டு வச்சிருக்கு. ஸோ நம்ம இதுல இருந்து வெளியே வர்றதுக்கு ட்ரை பண்ணணும். அதுதான் ஈகோ தான் ஹியூமன் ரிலேஷன்ஸ்ல ஹியூமன் ரிலேஷன்ஸ் ஸ்மூத்தா இல்லை அப்படின்னா, அதுக்கு மெயின் ரீசன் இந்த ஈகோ தான். அதுக்கு ஒரு வழி என்ன அப்படின்னா, எப்பொழுதுமே நம்ம we should be in the company of high like-minded people and people who are in the pursuit of higher values. Be in the satsang of people who can uplift your consciousness. எப்பொழுதுமே நம்ம யாரோட இருக்கணும் அப்படின்னா, யார் நம்மளுடைய கான்சியஸ்னஸ் உணர்வு நிலையை உயர்த்துகின்றார்களோ அவர்களுடைய சூழல்ல தான் நம்ம இருக்கணும். அப்பதான் நம்மளுடைய கான்சியஸ்னஸ் ரைஸ் ஆகும், நம்ம இருந்து வெளியே வர முடியும். அதர்வைஸ் நம்ம ஈகோலி தான் இருப்போம். ஸோ அதுக்கு மெயினா என்ன பண்ணணும், நம்ம சில எக்ஸசைஸ் எல்லாம் பண்ணணும். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் we have to quieten ourselves. நம்மளுடைய இந்த மேற்புலத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த தண்ணி எப்படி இருக்கு, அப்படியே ரிப்பிள்ஸா இருக்கு. அது மாதிரி மைண்டை குவைட்டன் பண்ணணும். அப்புறம் டிட்டாச் பண்ணணும். we have to detach ourselves. எல்லாத்தையும் டிட்டாச்சா பார்க்க கத்துக்கணும். நம்ம டிட்டாச்சா பார்க்கணும்னா எதையாவது ஒன்னோட அட்டாச் பண்ணிக்கணும் இல்லையா? ஏதோ அட்டாச் பண்ணிக்கிறது. we have to attach ourselves with our inner being. Take the support of the inner being ஓட நம்ம இணைச்சுக்கிட்டோம் அப்படின்னா, ஸ்லோல டிட்டாச் பண்ணிக்கலாம். அப்புறம் மதர் என்ன சொல்றாங்க, வி ஷுட் நாட் ரியாக்ட் இமிடியட்லி. எது வெளியில யாராவது ஏதாவது சொல்றாங்க, ஏதாவது பண்ணா உடனே நம்ம என்ன பண்றோம், ரியாக்ட் பண்றோம். அவங்களுக்கு எதிராக நம்ம ரியாக்ட் பண்றோம். வி ஷுட் கீப் குவைட். இதுதான் ஸ்டெப்பிங் பேக். அந்த ஸ்டெப்பிங் பேக்குங்கிற எக்ஸசைஸ் இஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். அது நிறைய ப்ராப்ளத்துலேருந்து நம்மளை வந்து பாதுகாக்கும். அப்புறம் நம்ம வந்து எல்லாமே நம்ம என்ன நினைக்கிறோம், நம்ம நினைக்கிறது தான் சரின்னு நினைக்கிறோம். வி டோன்ட் see things from others point of view. அதுதான் மதர் என்ன சொல்றாங்க, we should see things from the others point of view. அப்புறம் முக்கியமா ஒரு விஷயம் என்ன அப்படின்னா, நம்ம வந்து மற்றவங்கள்ட்ட இருக்கக்கூடிய நல்ல விஷயங்களை தான் பார்க்கணும். we should look at the virtues of others, not their weaknesses. ஏன் அப்படின்னா, நமக்கு இருக்கிற வீக்னஸ் இருக்குன்னே நமக்கு தெரியாது. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல், we don't know what weaknesses we have, we are not aware of it. அப்படி இருக்கிறப்ப நம்ம எப்படி ஹவர் வி இன்னொருத்தங்கிட்ட இருக்கிற வீக்னஸ் எப்படி பார்க்கறது எப்படி சரியாகும்? அதனால மற்றவங்கள்ட்ட எப்பொழுதுமே வர்ச்சுஸ் தான் பார்க்கணும். அப்புறம் மதர் என்ன சொல்றாங்க அப்படின்னா, நம்ம ஒருத்தர்கிட்ட ஒரு டிஃபெக்டை பார்த்தோம் அப்படின்னா, மேக் ஷியோர் தட் பி ஷியோர் தட் த சேம் டிஃபெக்ட் லைஸ் இன் யூ ஆல்சோ அப்படிங்கிறாங்க. ஸோ மற்றவங்கள்ட்ட பார்க்குற எல்லா டிஃபெக்டும் நம்மக்கிட்டே இருக்கு. மற்றவங்களாம் ஒரு மிரர் போல் தான் நமக்கு செயல்படுறாங்க. அதை நம்ம புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். அதனால இந்த விஷயங்கள் எல்லாம் நம்ம கான்சியஸா பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா, இது வந்து ஒரு கண்டினியூஸ் ப்ராசஸ், 24/7 ப்ராசஸ். இதை பண்றது வந்து இந்த பாத்துல வந்து ரொம்ப கண்டினியூஸா பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கணும். ஏன் பண்ணணும், வை வி ஷுட் டூ ஆல் தீஸ் திங்ஸ்? நம்ம வாட்டுக்கு எல்லாரையும் போல இருக்கலாமே, வி கேன் ஆல்சோ லிவ் லைக் அதர்ஸ் அப்படின்னு கேட்கலாம். பட் நம்ம இந்த எக்ஸசைஸை கண்டினியூஸா பண்ண வி ஆர் மேக்கிங் சம் எஃபர்ட் டு மூவ் டுவர்ட்ஸ் ஹையர் கான்சியஸ்னஸ். மதர் என்ன சொல்றாங்க அப்படின்னா, the effort வந்து whether it brings a result or not, that's a different issue, but the effort itself gives you a joy அப்படிங்கிறாங்க. the effort பண்றமே, that itself gives you a joy. அதான் சொல்றாங்க, the joy of making the effort. எதுக்கு பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா, the joy of making the effort, the joy of being nearer to the mother, the joy of following the mother's path. ஸோ இது மாதிரி ஒரு அற்புதமான தீப்ஷிகா மேடம் has shared with us many valuable points. Of course, this is a very vast subject which can't be covered in a single session, but some of the tips she has given, very valuable tips. அதை நம்ம உள்ளுக்குள்ள வாங்கிக்கிட்டு செயல்பட்டோம் அப்படின்னா நிச்சயமா நம்மளுடைய ஹியூமன் ரிலேஷன்ஸ் வந்து இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆகும்.